We got about another minute here. I'm thinking yesterday might be a hint of spring.
Oh, me too.
We might still get some snow.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can get going. Everybody's here. Good morning. It's March 10, 9:30, Finance and Administration. And we always start our meetings out with public comment. So if you'd like to come forward and make a comment, you are welcome to do so at this time. We just ask that you state your name and where you live and keep it to 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is John Schultz. I live in Grand Haven Township. Some of you know that I was the Parks Director for over 3 decades prior to Jason's tenure. Back then, there were 9 parks and a little over 400 acres when the Parks Commission was first formed. That was back in 1987. At that time, the county was not recognized for having a good park system, and many of the parks were generally not in good condition. The initial task was to upgrade the quality and condition of the parks, and the board was instrumental in providing the matching grants needed for renovations at locations like Tunnel, Kirk, and Hager Parks. Thanks to these efforts, by the mid-1990s, most parks had been renovated, and the perception began to change regarding the potential of the park system. As the county's population grew rapidly, it became clear that the amount of parkland was grossly insufficient. Jean Lau Carroll, who had been a county commissioner and was then on the Parks Commission, led the charge for expanding the park system and proposing a parks millage. Despite having only one of the then 15 county board members publicly supporting the millage, the majority of commissioners agreed that voters should have the opportunity to decide for themselves. In 1996, voters approved a 0.33 levy for parks. The resulting funding, combined with significant public and private grants, enabled Ottawa County Parks to grow into one of the most respected park systems in the state. However, the millage is now fully consumed by operations and major renovations of existing infrastructure, leaving no funding for new improvements such as modern restrooms, regional trail connections, expanding outdoor education programs, or seizing new opportunities when they arise. An increase to 0.53 mils would allow the funding needed to meet public demand. The recently completed Parks and Open Space Plan highlights the importance of continued progress, which additional funding would ensure. I respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners approve putting the 0.53 millage on the ballot, allowing voters to determine, as they did back in 1996, just how much they want to invest in the county park system. Thank you.
Welcome.
My name is Bobby Sabine. I'm a resident of Grand Haven. And for those of you who don't know me, I served on the Parks Commission for 12 years, and I have been involved with the Ottawa County Parks Foundation for an additional 11 years. Professionally, I'm a landscape architect and a natural resources consultant, and I am very familiar with our park system, and I fully understand how hard our park staff works to make sure this is one of the most outstanding park systems in the Midwest. So I think for many people, the millage question is going to come down to how much will this cost me? And my answer is not very much at all. Personally, we live in a decent, pretty average house in downtown Grand Haven. And in 2025, we paid a total parks millage levy of $38.96. Here's my tax bill. And you can find this number in a line item on your winter tax bill. And if the increase is approved, we would pay approximately $63 a year. And I will also say that I consider this to be a phenomenal bargain. For about 11 cents a day, we now get access to over 7,000 acres of public land. With the increase, we would pay another 6 cents a day. So the total cost to me and my husband would be about 17 cents a day. or less than 9 cents each. For every dollar we invest in our parks, we get $6 returned to our local economy. Our parks provide a broad range of opportunities for outdoor education and recreation to all of our residents and visitors. Parks enhance our quality of life and our physical and mental health. For those that say they never set foot in parks, well, our parks provide benefits to them as well, even though they're not aware of them. Parks improve our property values, they protect our natural resources, and our public green spaces help keep our air and water cleaner. And our local business owners tell us that having this amazing park system here helps them attract a highly qualified workforce. People want to live here, and parks are one of the big reasons why. A huge percentage of our population uses our parks. I believe the last survey showed that 87% of Ottawa County households went to an Ottawa County park at least once last year. I think that's pretty impressive. We use our parks, we appreciate them. We use them for quiet solitude, for noisy, joyful celebrations, for family picnics. We use them to play in the waves of Lake Michigan, or we just walk our dogs or spend time with friends out there. The demand for our parks continues to grow, and along with that demand, we need to grow our services.
Thank you, Ms. Savine.
Thank you.
We do have amazing parks. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Steve Rice, and I live at 13405 Leonard Road in Crockery Township. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss my support for the proposed millage increase. I was born in Michigan, East Sider though, went to Michigan State, and when I graduated, I left the state and did my master's degree down in Texas. Upon graduating, job opportunities in Michigan were pretty limited, so my first job took me to California. Since then, I've worked in various companies on projects in probably about 25, 26 different states. And during visits to these communities, I've seen what these other parts of the country have to offer as it relates to county parks and open space and natural areas. It's, to tell you the truth, it's no comparison whatsoever. In 2003, I had the opportunity to move to Ottawa County with a new firm. At that time, I was living in Florida with the kids and my wife, and they were in school. We had friends and family and careers down there, so we weren't really excited about the opportunity necessarily to move back to Michigan. However, the firm I was interviewing with asked me not to dismiss it and come up and visit Ottawa County for a long weekend to meet the team and explore the area. While on that trip, we were fortunate enough to kind of go out and dabble around a little bit in Connor Bayou County Park and Pigeon Creek. That weekend changed my family's lives, honestly. After those 3 days in Ottawa County, we decided to take the job and have lived here ever since. The natural beauty of the area, the natural areas, the parks, the open spaces, as well as the people were the tipping point for us in that decision. Since 2003, I've been a business leader in Ottawa County, growing a team of scientists, ecologists, engineers, landscape architects, business managers, et cetera. As you all know, good candidates are oftentimes hard to find. But when we have a challenge, I would always go back to 2003 and invite the candidate to come and visit Ottawa County and encourage them to kind of visit the county parks while they were here. And if I could, I would even slip out with them and, when possible, and kind of escort them around some of the parks. Oftentimes, our county park system is the tipping point for their decisions as well, in the same way it was for me 23 years ago. These beautiful parks, open spaces, help business leaders attract and retain talent needed to grow their businesses, provide jobs, and grow the economy, not only in Ottawa County, but in Michigan and the entire Midwest area. So please support business leaders of the region and do not hesitate to support Ottawa County Parks by placing the recommended 0.53 millage rate on this year's ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. We have two public comments, one now and one at the end of the meeting, if anybody else wishes to further comment. I'm not seeing any others at this time, so we'll continue on with the business of the county. I'd like to get a motion to approve the agenda.
Moved.
Or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving forward, motion passed. Consent resolutions. There's only one item today. It's the approval of the minutes from the February 10, 2026 Finance and Administration Committee meeting. Can I get that motion?
So moved. Support.
All right, motion made and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And now we're on to the agenda. And first up is Emergency Management Grant. And I see that we do have Lou here, but to tee it up, maybe I can go to the administrator?
Yeah, sure. This is a ongoing grant that the county receives every year from the state called the State Emergency.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's make,
There's sport?
Yes,
Support.
support.
Okay, thank you.
let's go, Patrick.
It's an annual grant called the State Emergency Management Performance Grant. It pays for approximately 8.5% of Lou's salary. And so it's pretty much a no-brainer. It offsets general fund costs and we would be happy to accept this money. The one downside is it has been going down, and I think Lou included an attachment that shows the annual amounts that we've received since 2016. There was a spike during COVID when the ARPA dollars were available and we received a higher percentage, but essentially the state is taking its portion for its own emergency management services and the remainder is doled out to the counties and agencies that have emergency management. So it's essentially a 18% reduction from the prior year, about $15,400.
So the suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the FY 2025 Emergency Management Performance Grant in the amount of $15,410. And that motion has been made and supported. Mr. Hunt, do you have anything you'd like to add? You're here today. Always appreciate seeing you join us.
Thank you very much. This is one that we do every year, but I just wanted to point out how it is dwindling every year, unfortunately. As Patrick had said. I also included from 2024 a letter that came from Captain Sweeney of the Michigan State Police Emergency Management Homeland Security Division. And just explaining that, you know, because of their very large operation in emergency management, when the money comes in from the feds, regardless of however much that is, they have to take their portion. And anecdotally, I've heard that it's about 75% of the grant. So the leavings are then given to the counties, and that's distributed all throughout the state. So as that amount goes down, the state still takes theirs, whatever they need, and then ours is the part that changes every single year, and that trend has been significantly going down every year. I think in Ottawa County, we've done a great job of absorbing that. I know a lot of the smaller counties are in real trouble when it comes to that. And if there's anything that we can do to apply some pressure, that would be really appreciated to make sure that all of the counties are funded as they should be.
I'm going to open it up for discussion, but I'd like to know, is there anything you'd suggest that something that we can do to apply that pressure?
If we were to apply a little pressure, maybe with our lobbyists, I think that could be helpful. I know that there is pressure coming in from a lot of different directions in the state about this. It's probably similar to a lot of the federal grants that are coming in nowadays. And hopefully that will turn around and go in the opposite direction.
Commissioners?
For GCSI, that's what we would probably turn to, Pat.
Yeah. Yes, we just had lunch with him yesterday, so we're happy to send this one on to him to have some conversations with our legislators.
Perfect, sounds good.
Yeah, I think, or having a meeting with the Ottawa County reps might not be a bad idea either.
Agreed. Right. For this one, we're going to call the roll. So good morning, Rachel.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Cheaples, Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Georgezma,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Lou. On to number 2, the accounts payable. The suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the general claims in the amount of $17,192,990.01 as presented by the summary report for February 1st, 2026 through February 28, 2026.
So moved.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Any conversation on this one needed? We're good to go there. Right, we'll come back to Rachel again.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
Please.
I did have one question on it. So when you go to page 26 of the packet, where if we have purchasing card transactions, a general question, maybe Karen can help us with this. So we have Amazon Marketplace payments of 16,000, and then the second one is Amazon.com of 3,700. Just wondering, I think there maybe has been talk in the past about, just ensuring that, well, it's just hard to watch that particular vendor, like what are all those purchases going towards? And, just ensuring that that's the vendor we should be using for all of those items. So just wondering if there's been more discussion on that, or do we feel secure that this is the way that department should be handling?
I'll have to defer and ask Karen if you can you speak to this from the Amazon standpoint?
I know when I've personally seen items on this list, Karen is able to pull them up and,
Yeah.
research them and explain exactly what they are.
Probably what we would need
But
to
to
do.
Sylvia's point, public facing, sometimes it'd be nice because it raises the question.
So I'm not, we do have P cards, and so Amazon is not a disallowed vendor. I mean, we do purchase from Amazon. We actually have Amazon business account, so I'm not 100% sure what the question was exactly. So it is a vendor that we do use.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with the vendor. It's just that it's easy for a lot of things to be thrown in that bucket without knowing exactly, what is this? So for instance, when we've discussed this in the past, it's been, why are we using Amazon so much? Sometimes that can be because we have an immediate need and we need to get something here quickly. There's no other way to facilitate that need as well. So great. That's a perfect reason to use it. Are we though too often turning to Amazon, or are we appropriately using other vendors like for office supplies and stuff like that? Do we have better pricing elsewhere? I'm just raising a question to ensure that we're using the proper processes and not, it's just so personally, it's so easy to use Amazon, So, just making sure that we're watching that.
Sure. So departments do have all those resources available to them. And so we do work closely with them and go over all their options.
Yep.
And we do look at that and periodically have conversations. Annually, we do look at their spend and send information out to the department head and go over all that information and kind of look at each P card holder. And talk over with the department head. So it's something we're looking at and talking about annually and monthly as we look at invoices and P cards that come in. So I would say that it's an ongoing monthly review and an annual with the department head. So, I mean, it is happening.
Good. That's all I'm checking in on
Okay.
is are we watching this and making sure we're still comfortable with how it's being used?
Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and our company will buy bulk supplies, honey candy bags, and I'll quote it by the pallet, with a third party. And still Amazon can beat their price, right? I mean, it's counterintuitive,
Mhm.
but oftentimes Amazon is the most fiscally responsible source to get these items from. So I'm glad your department heads are looking at it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Mr. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Teeples,
Yes.
Mr. Georgezma,
Yes.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, on to number 3, budget adjustments. The suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the FY 2026 budget adjustments per the attached schedule. Can I get that motion?
So moved.
Or
Kyers and Georgezma. Any conversation on this one? Typically is not.
I
so-
did want to point out the last one, just, I think it's a good thing to note, the public health grant for the emerging threats grant, that was unexpected dollars that help offset the costs associated with the Talmadge Meadows work. So it's a good, I mean, that was good, noble effort to come through and help them with their needs down there. And we did not expect to receive these grant funds that'll offset general fund
I'm
dollars.
sorry, could you repeat that, Patrick?
So the Talmadge Meadows Mobile Home Park, where they're struggling with the water issue.
Okay.
Public Health Department's been engaged on that, trying to assist, lean on the state to bring in resources.
Okay.
The time and materials on that effort are being offset with this grant. So
Right,
it's a
perfect.
nice win for the county.
You know about how much that was?
It's 51,491.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a meaningful amount of money.
Yeah.
All right, Rachel.
Mr. Teeples?
Yes.
Mr. Georgezma?
Yes.
Mr. Barry?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey?
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra?
Yes.
Mr. Kyers?
Yes.
Mr. Bonema?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, on to number 4, quarterly financial status report. The suggested motion is to receive and forward to the Board of Commissioners the detailed financial statements for the general fund and mental health fund, as well as a higher level summary for the special revenue funds through the end of the first quarter of fiscal year 2026. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Mr. Administrator, do you have anything? on this?
The report is very well done. Karen reports on this quarterly. She's here to answer any questions, but I believe the report speaks for itself.
Any questions from the commission? I think we're good to move forward. Right. Rachel?
Mr. Kyers?
Yes.
Mr. Barry?
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra?
Yeah.
Mr. Teeples?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey?
Yes.
Mr. Georgezma?
Yes.
Mr. Bonema?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, on to number 5, the in-house legal services restructuring proposal. The suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the pay grade 19 salary range for a Director of Legal Affairs position, pending position creation approval by the Planning and Policy Committee.
So moved.
Word.
All right, I would love to hear more on this one.
Okay, yeah, so this is a two-parter. It's going to come before both committees because it has both a policy impact and a financial impact. But as you recall, back in February, this board appointed Dickinson Wright and Ron Bolche as the interim corporation counsel for the county. Ron Bolche has indicated his desire to retire, as has Doug Van Essen. So the county has a need to fulfill legal services, at least at the in-house level. So since coming here, it became quickly evident the amount of need there is for in-house legal support on a daily basis. And I think you have seen that over the course of your tenures as well. That became evident when Coleman was here. I think there was a need for more and more hours in the office just to deal with the daily needs. The structure is really such that this board has said when it comes to corporation counsel, that should be outsourced to an outside attorney. That depoliticizes the position. It allows that activity to be done without creating a conflict of interest with the rest of the organization. When you have outside litigation in cases representing various officers of the county, you don't necessarily want that same person to be the in-house day-to-day legal advisor. So what we're proposing here is essentially going back to an old model pre-Doug Van Essen, where we had an in-house attorney at the county and corporation counsel was outsourced to another firm. And this is a position that you see in other large organizations, a director of legal affairs. It essentially will coordinate all of the legal work that the county is engaged with outside attorneys. For example, Mike Bogren at Plunkett Cooney handles most of the defense counsel for the insurance authority. This position would engage with Mr. Bogren on the activities that are occurring and then report back to the board. And then more importantly, probably 90% of the work is the day-to-day. I need a legal opinion. I need help with this a contract or negotiating this issue. They would be the person that sits here next to me at the meeting and serves as parliamentarian for your board. And I expect it will save the county quite a bit of money because we're paying a salary. It's not based on billable. And it just makes a lot of sense. So that's where this is stemming from. Corporation counsel can continue to remain as Dickinson Wright unless you just decide to go with a different firm for that. But the Director of Legal Affairs would serve day-to-day legal needs for the county.
Thank you. Commissioner Zalstra.
So thanks, Patrick. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
If you can just help me understand the difference. You're talking about attorney versus outside corporate counsel. Can I just explain your thoughts on that? And I don't quite follow what you're talking about there.
Well, and as I said in my memo, there's no statute that requires corporation counsel to be in-house. Okay, I think that's kind of what has happened is that has been blurred over the years. But the act actually, or the MCL actually states that the board by majority vote may employ an attorney to represent the county in civil matters. So my interpretation of that is when it comes to representing the county in legal matters, that's corporation counsel. That's not what this position is. This is a day-to-day legal advisor serving as attorney that's going to provide legal opinions, that's going to provide legal advice and support, contract review, meeting with residents if they have concerns about something legally that the county is engaged in. That's this role. And it's essentially put in as a department head level that will oversee the paralegal. And if there's a need in the future for the department to grow, they would oversee that.
So when you said corporate, we will have an attorney plus corporate counsel. And the corporate counsel will, and I'm trying to write this down, will represent us in civil matters?
Yes. And they're not going to be billing us constantly. They're going to be billing us as we have civil matters that need to be defended. So
That's more like litigation counsel.
Yes,
So-
yes.
So can I just replace the word corporate with litigation counsel? Is that fair? Just out my understanding, because I remember when we hired Common, we hired them for litigation counsel as well as corporate counsel.
Right.
But what you're saying is corporate counsel is basically litigation counsel.
That's how I see it.
Okay,
yes.
so that makes sense to me. But we're still hiring an attorney, right?
We're hiring an attorney in the role of Director of Legal Affairs.
Right.
That coordinates with the Corporation Counsel and any other attorney that the county is engaged with.
I'm just gonna substitute litigation counsel for corporate counsel, just to help me understand what
Sure.
you're saying.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about litigation counsel, you're talking about Bull Run, or you're talking about Dickinson Wright?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense to me. I guess what doesn't make sense to me then is, so we hired basically two people, 2.5 if you count health. I mean, one is yourself, administrator, and the other is an attorney. The way I see that, maybe I have that wrong, is that that attorney is not simply a department head, right? There's more of a direct relationship with the board because that's a direct hire that we make. We only make 2 apart from the health. So maybe help me understand. I see what you're doing here, and I think I agree with a lot of it, but I still think that our board rules talk about us hiring basically 2 positions,
Mhm.
the attorney and the administrator. And for me, having a direct relationship with our attorney, just as we have a direct relationship with yourself as administrator, makes more sense to me than having a direct relationship with you only and not with our attorney, because that attorney has become just a department head, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really see that dynamic.
I see this as a much higher level of engagement with the board than a typical department head. In fact, that's in the job description that they serve in the capacity of parliamentarian and support for the board. So I would say, don't look at it like you're separated from them. They would be at the service of the board as they would with the remainder of the organization, the officers, the elected officials, and the staff. That's the boots on the ground, day-to-day support level we need.
Okay.
That's not the litigator. The litigator comes in when we have an issue. That's the board's appointment to determine who it is to.
Right, I
defend
think
the
we've
county.
clarified that aspect and I'm comfortable with that.
I mean, it's second in the job description where it says serves as civil counsel and parliamentarian to the Board of Commissioners.
I get that, but
So that, to me, it seems like that addresses your main concern. I mean, if that's top of the job description, that they serve the Board of Commissioners.
okay.
I don't, is it okay if I,
Yeah, jump right in, I guess.
Okay.
it's,
because I think I understand perhaps where you're coming from on that. The legal structure of the authority has mattered in the past. We have in the past had an administrator and a corporate counsel who view the statute differently from each other, where the administrator believed that he was over corporate counsel. But when you look at the statute, it actually doesn't place the administrator over corporate counsel. It actually places corporate counsel underneath the board directly, not under the administrator. When you go to who hires who, that's really what the statute lays out. So sometimes in the day-to-day then, that can be complicated if it's not clear, you know, what the authority structure is, because then you might have a corporate counsel, or in this case, you know, an attorney who maybe disagrees with the administrator on something, and then who's in charge, who's calling the shots when it comes to that legal matter. So I think it'd be good to get some clarification on that. In the past, it's been interpreted that that legal counsel is a direct hire and a direct report to the board. And it's kind of more of a peer relationship with the administrator, not under the administrator. So,
And I'm not proposing we change that.
okay,
I'm not proposing we change corporation counsel being under the board. That remains the same. This is the introduction of a new employee that serves the day-to-day function of the organization.
but I think that's maybe a technicality. I would view that as a technicality, because I think that I agree with this position. I think that this position is one that serves as like the spoke of a wheel. And I think there's a lot of legal needs of a county, and that could look like corporation counsel or litigation counsel. But it could also look like somebody who we need an expert opinion from on such and such, you know, like this is their specialty in law, and we need that opinion from them. Or for this particular circumstance, we need this particular kind of an attorney. And so that person who would be, you know, the spoke of the wheel is finding, you know, all the different legal needs that we need and coordinating those things and doing the contracts and all of that. So if that's what we're envisioning, I agree with that. But I also think because they're so central, I think that is who's under the board. I don't think it's just the one-off who does the litigation who's under the board. And so here's a complication with that too. So if we're proposing that the person who does litigation is the one that's hired by the board and is under the board, then why do we have an insurance authority where that litigator is not a direct report to this board? So then we end up with kind of some structural difficulties because that litigator's not here, not talking to the entirety of this board. And so I think structurally it just makes sense that this is the person who's under the board, who's then facilitating all of the legal needs. That's just how I see it.
Commissioner Teeples.
So I see that there's what Patrick is trying to do to avoid a conflict of interest with corporate counsel and the department heads. So corporate counsel reports to the board. I think that's an understood proposition. But that corporate counsel can't be in conflict because with the department heads. And just give an example. So when the Common Law Group sued the Department of Public Health, right? Now you have a clear conflict of interest. And
Clarification, that was the opposite, just to be clear.
what was that?
Not sue the health department. The health department sued the county.
But the defense, but still the corporate counsel was representing the board against its own department. And what Patrick is saying is that we still control corporate counsel. And but we have a director of legal services, which I would say is general counsel in a lot of law firms, or a lot of businesses, right? Corporations have general counsels, whose job it is to coordinate the various aspects of various legal things, including outside counsel. That's important because we all have to have an independent person that the county can talk to, all the departments. If we as a board don't like or don't trust the opinion of the attorney doing that, we hire our own corporate counsel to take on the issue of the Open Meeting Act, for an example, right? So it's not just litigation. It could be anything we think we need outside legal counsel for. And so what he's doing here, and I appreciate it, frankly, because I think it avoids a problem, is we're going to have in-house legal counsel that dealing with everything that affects the county. But you as a board still have the right to hire your own legal counsel at any time on any issue that may come along if we're not satisfied with what we're hearing. And we don't need that person retained on a 100% basis, waiting for that call from us to say, issue an opinion. That person will, let's say we've had Open Meeting Act issues, right? We ask the Director of Legal Affairs to issue an opinion. And if he or she's not comfortable with that, they go to outside legal counsel and get a legal opinion on the Open Meeting Act issue, right? Comes back and said, here's the in-house legal counsel's opinion on the Open Meeting Act, either direct opinion or hiring outside firm. If we're not satisfied with that, then we kick in, say, no, we'd like another opinion. We're going to hire, in this situation, an attorney to give us legal opinion. This isn't good. That's not going away. This is just creating a separation so that we don't have a potential conflict in how we handle the department heads. I like it. I think it makes great sense.
I don't disagree with this position in theory at all. In fact, this is really how it's always supposed to have been, but I think that maybe we're just we're using different language than each other and are viewing the oversight differently. So
I think the main bottom line for me is that corporation counsel in its traditional position can't be in-house counsel. It just doesn't work. It can't be the day-to-day person. And case in point, when I was here as deputy,
sorry. So are you meaning, just like tracking with you, are you meaning litigation counsel?
I mean,
I appreciate that.
litigation
If
counsel.
if we're going to get rid of the term corporate counsel, then
We're not.
using.
We're not getting rid of the term corporation counsel. I'm not replacing
Okay,
corporation
but I
counsel.
mean.
But we
we've had
mean litigation
5
counsel.
5 to 10 years of using the word
Okay.
corporate counsel.
Yep.
So, and that's referred to specifically one role. And if you're going to get rid of that role, then I think maybe use a different terms. We understand what you're saying.
We just need to know that that's what you mean. So you mean litigation counsel?
I do.
Okay.
I mean corporation counsel as it's defined in the act as who the board determines shall represent it in civil matters.
Okay.
That's how I mean it.
Okay.
And where I ran into an issue with this, a personal experience was when I was here as deputy, I would go into the Coleman's office and ask for a legal opinion on any given matter and was told, we're too busy. We're preoccupied doing work for the board, something to that effect. So that makes it very difficult for administration to handle its day-to-day responsibilities for the things that are going on in the county if I don't have some level of oversight with that support. I had no one else to go to for legal support than the Corporation Counsel Office of Coleman. There's nothing wrong with, I think that Coleman was serving the board and that's their role, but that doesn't help administration run the county.
So are you saying then that this particular role is, because I agree with you, there's so many legal needs here
Yeah.
with contracts and all that kind of stuff. So are you saying that this particular role that we're talking about right now then is for your day-to-day county stuff, like contracts? and
Yes.
All that kind of stuff?
Yes.
And while it may go out and seek additional needs that come up, it's not responsible for those additional needs beyond matching
Right.
the need with the attorney.
Yeah, and we have, you know, the Water Resources Commissioner works with an attorney. The Human Resources works with an attorney. I need somebody to coordinate all of that work and keep eyes on those bills and make sure that what's being done is in the best interest of the county. This is the coordinator portion of that role. That Corporation Counsel, Ron Bolche doesn't do that for us right now.
Mhm.
I remember, when Doug and I traveled around the county and did essentially kind of a listening tour to the different departments, this topic came up over and over consistently as a need.
Mm.
Departments were looking for better access for contract review and just the day-to-day
Mhm.
business of the county. There's a lot. So I think this addresses that very well. I'm excited that we're at the point to have that conversation now
Good.
because I think this is listening. They know that they're being heard,
Mhm.
right? By this position getting filled. This is a need that they've expressed verbally at multiple locations around the county.
And I'm happy to prepare an org chart that shows that
Yeah.
structure of Corporation Counsel under the board and then how this lays in, but,
Okay, that would be helpful.
okay.
I do have one more question. And that is, so my one concern, which I'm guessing we're just going to be figuring out as we go, is that, as we do this restructuring, I'm actually concerned we don't have enough help in that realm. So, because it's been kind of hodgepodge, and when Coleman was here, we had more time being put in legal, but yes, it was dispersed as far as what roles they were fulfilling. So that's my one concern, is that as we go forward, just making sure that we truly have the coverage that we need.
We're not
Yeah.
getting rid of Dickinson right immediately, are we?
No,
So,
that's up to you to determine if they want to, you want to continue on. Ron will retire, so Ron is named as interim Corporation Counsel, but the motion includes all of its attorneys in that motion for Corporation Counsel. So you may want to come back and reassign another attorney as Corporation Counsel for Dickinson or another firm. That's at your purview.
Great. Did we answer all the questions? Commissioner Zalstra?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I understand, because John talked about general counsel and having some independence, right? That I take to mean this position, correct?
That's what I'm thinking. That's
Okay.
how I visualize it.
And MCL 4971 talks about us employing an attorney, right? And you've talked about, and where our board rules talk about us appointing a county corporation counsel. The 4971 in our board rules, that to you, Patrick, is Ron,
Yes.
not this position.
Correct.
So you're saying that the person that the board rules talks about, the person that MCL 4971 talks about is our litigation attorney,
Yes,
not our attorney day-to-day.
right.
Okay. Because I guess I don't see that. I mean, like, as a commissioner, I have very little interaction with the litigation attorney. Like, I don't think I've ever met Bogart in person per se. Whereas what John calls general counsel is someone who I would see every day, basically. And I would see 4971 in our board rules talking about this position as a general counsel and someone who Sylvia has said, reports directly to us just as you report directly to us.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not seeing that correctly, but I, for example, don't think our board rules talks about litigation counsel. I think our board rules are talking about our general counsel attorney.
Yeah.
And maybe we have a different interpretation.
I think that's how it's been interpreted historically. I agree with that. There's another thing I'll say with this too is Corporation Counsel should be the most experienced person that you can find to do the job, right? You
Of
want,
representation in civil matters,
yes, you want the
but
best.
not in the day-to-day giving counsel to the board as well as to department heads, et cetera.
I think
So I'm still trying to separate when you use the word corporation counsel,
Litigation attorney, yeah.
talk about litigation attorney, and we talk about what John said, general counsel. If we say there's two different things going on in this county, we have a general counsel who is this position, and we have a litigation counsel who is Bulgy, or is Bogren, or is both?
It's Dickinson Wright and Ron Bolche at the moment. That's who you appointed as corporation counsel under MCL.
Okay.
That's not changing.
So right now, there's a plate that says Ron Bulgy, corporate counsel, and he comes to meetings and gives us parliamentarian rulings.
This person would
Serve
come
in
Would
meetings.
take,
Yes.
would that, those aspects of Ron's duties would disappear,
Yes,
and he would strictly be our litigation counsel.
yes, or any other needs that the county board has above day-to-day operations.
I guess I disagree with that. I mean, I think that our board rules talk about a person, and 4971 talks about someone who I think of as much as a general counsel person, not as a litigation attorney. But maybe I'm just not reading that right.
It's possible that our county has gotten so big. I guess it's actually factual. Our county's gotten so big, there's clearly a need for both. And so maybe what you're sensing is that really there's also a need for the board to have oversight of both. Because one person can't fulfill all of those functions. And so if you're going to have a litigation attorney plus, a general day-to-day attorney, it actually would be desirable for the board to be close to both.
Right, and the litigation attorney, we don't have a strong relationship with, right?
No, we don't.
Doug, if you skip ahead to MCL 49.73, there
Okay.
actually is a distinction.
Okay,
It says the Board of Commissioners of a county shall employ an attorney to represent elected county officers, including the sheriff, prosecuting attorney, yada, yada, yada. In civil matters as a defendant when neither the prosecuting attorney or the county corporation counsel is able to represent the particular officer.
right, and I get that, and that's totally valid, and maybe just, I have to make a mind shift that this is not talking about MCL 49 at all, is not talking about general counsel, it's talking about litigation counsel. But that's not like the model we've used, and then maybe we've used a poor model.
But it says if county corporation counsel is unable to represent the particular officer,
Okay,
which would imply that we'd still be able to use our corporation counsel if they're capable or it's appropriate for them to represent the board or whatever in a civil matter.
right.
Only if they-
I totally get that, and as I say, you may be right on the interpretation of that. I guess the way we've thought of that in the past has been that person is general counsel type person, as John says, and maybe we've been doing it wrong, and now this is maybe the right way to do it, and maybe I just have to shift my mind as to, like, when our board rules say we have a power to appoint a county corporation attorney, it's strictly litigation. It's not talking about a general counsel, and that may be what our board rules are talking about. That's not the way I interpret them, but maybe I'm just interpreting them wrong. Does that make sense?
I guess.
Okay, I mean, I could very well be wrong on how I interpret it, but that's the way I interpret it, because since I've been a commissioner, that's kind of how we viewed corporate counsel as the person who sits there who gives us guidance on a day-to-day basis. And if that's wrong, we need to change that. But then now I have to make that adjustment. I don't know how I'm gonna make that adjustment, because I feel like we should have a direct relationship with our council, our day-to-day council. And if
As
either MCL and our board rules are talking about that person, but they're talking about the person who's out in court.
Right. I
You
think.
see what I'm saying? though?
I think, yeah, 4971 that you're referencing does specifically talk about litigation.
Okay.
I think that's the key.
I
piece.
get that, and I agree with you. I just have to make the mind shift now that
Sure.
our general counsel is not our general counsel, so to speak. That person is just a department head.
Well,
And I don't necessarily agree that we
No.
should do that,
don't-
but if we have to do that, I guess.
Agree
we
with
have
that at
to.
all. Yeah.
What?
I don't agree with that at all.
What do you mean?
That our general counsel is our general counsel. They're not just a department head. I mean.
But
like-
that's kind of
like
way
I
it's.
said,
what's
The person who sits there can represent us in any civil matter. They can represent us in litigation. This is what the MCL says. It says we can hire an attorney if the prosecuting attorney or county corporation counsel is unable to represent us.
Yeah, so I think that they can. It's just under this model, it sounds like we are possibly wanting to get away from that as much
Yes.
as possible.
Yes, we wouldn't want to. I wouldn't recommend that.
But-
But you're
agree.
right. Technically, you
Well,
could.
yeah, I mean, that person
we're talking about
theoretically could, but that's
authority.
not what we're doing. What
Right.
we're doing is we're getting rid of this Ron Belichick Corporation Counsel who shows up at every board meeting and having a person who is Director of Legal Affairs sitting there. And that our corporation counsel is now legal or litigation counsel who represents us and who we barely see. And the person we do see,
I think the important differentiator is that person is the main, unless, yes, so that's
And-
still.
right, and that's why I think that we should have
litigation.
a stronger relationship with this person than with our litigation counsel.
Well,
Yeah.
so I think what you're highlighting, Doug, is that we want to be careful as we go forward and ensuring that we can have a relationship with this general counsel. And that, for instance, if you have a legal question, that you can ask that question of this person, because I know in the past that's been important for you to be able to do that.
Mhm.
So that we're not so separated from this person with whatever title they're given, that we can no longer interact as a board.
Mhm.
Like, because I think we have appreciated having a relationship, where we can ask questions.
Yes, that is clearly how it's intended to serve is as any department, and I've told you all this, that if you have a question, by all means, please call them. I much prefer you call somebody that's salaried as an employee than a billable attorney. You know, and so this is not only
Second, yeah.
efficiency wise, it's a cost saving measure, and they will be at your they will be available to you to answer questions, to give you guidance on the day-to-day things. And if it's something that they can't answer, hey, I'm gonna call Ron or I'm gonna call corporation counsel, we'll coordinate on that, get that information.
Okay, so Jacob, I'll be abstaining on this one just because I would like to see the discussion at planning and policy on this and just kind of maybe get myself in the right headspace to understand what this is as opposed to what it's been. And we'll go from
And-
there, so.
It might be a good idea for us all to take a look at the job description and see if there's anything, based on this discussion that we want to ensure is in there that would make it, because it'd be nice if we all could agree on this position and feel comfortable with it.
Mhm.
So anyways, I don't have any proposed changes at this moment, but, over the next 2 weeks, if there's anything that we
Mhm.
think would help shore things up, we can look.
Is
look
there
at
any
that
issue
too.
with a commissioner abstaining on a vote like this?
I mean, we could table it or we can, I mean, I don't have a problem
Fine.
necessarily with voting for the job description. I do think the pay grade is probably not enough to attract the candidate we want, but I guess we can try it at this pay grade. I don't necessarily have a problem with the job description, but I still don't understand
Yeah.
enough to make a positive vote.
Well, we can move forward and move into planning and policy
Sounds
and
great.
continue the
Thank you. I appreciate
conversation.
that, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
But
So-
still have a motion on the table.
we do. So we're going to go to Rachel right now to call.
Let me make one more point on the financial. And Patrick and I have talked about this. This has been the inherent problem is trying to recruit qualified attorneys. I'm still not comfortable that we're paying enough for this position. Hopefully, when given the other job requirements that we're looking for the person, we attract candidates this time. And given the whole nature of the Director of Legal Affairs position, I just hope so, but I'm not sure. I share Doug's concern about the wage scale.
I share it as well.
Well, and that was what I wanted to say about when I started to talk about the corporation counsel, you wanted to be the best. This is not the 30 years of experience municipal attorney in this position that we're trying to attract with this. That, having gone through trying to hire a city attorney in Wyoming, was very difficult. When you're looking for the years and years of experience to serve as the city attorney or corporation counsel, this wage isn't going to get you. This will get us somebody that has some experience with municipal government, has the public administration skills to serve in a department head role, and has the ability to contact with the attorneys that are experts in their respective fields. That's this role. And that's where we think, and we asked Baker Tilly to look at it through that lens. And this is the wage scale that they recommended.
Oh, this came back from Baker Tilly.
Let me give you a perspective from a major law firm perspective about somebody in this position. This person is going to be a lawyer that's probably out about 5 years. And probably not on track necessarily to at a major partnership level in a major firm. But this person would not be just coming out of law school, but they could. But has experience, has some experience, but knows enough that knows that he doesn't know what he doesn't know, right? That's about what you're going to get with this position, I think. And great. I mean, there's certainly good qualified lawyers that have that 5 to 6 years of experience, right? And I agree. This isn't a senior level partner, but this is someone that can kind of coordinate for us and be a value at this level in lots of different ways. That's how I see this position.
Yeah, I just am slightly concerned because, you know, we have a $300 million budget. That's a lot to protect, a lot of contracts, and I don't want us to get the cheapest person. I want us to get someone who can do a really good job. So,
It's a grade 19 out of grade 20. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's pretty far up on the pay scale. But
Yeah.
we can talk about that. We'll see what kind of interest we get.
yeah. And maybe,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you'll do fine, but if you don't, then for sure come back.
Yeah, we might have to come back, and we can.
You might find an attorney that is just, you know, to be an attorney in a major law firm is whose whole focus is it's business. A law firm
Billable.
is business. The billable hour controls things. It undermines so much of the why you wanted to be a lawyer in the first place, because it's all driven by the dollar, right? You might find a seasoned attorney that says, look, I'm tired of this rat race. I want a quality of life now, right? I hope we can find maybe someone in that was be looking at that, you know, just saying, look, I've been there and done that. I don't want it anymore. I want a better quality of life. And this is a great opportunity for that kind of person, for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, it's second to the highest pay grade, so we're up there. If we're comfortable, I'd like to take the vote. All right.
Mr. Zylstra,
Abstain.
Mr. Keiers, Mr. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Georgezma,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Teeples,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
motion passes.
Chair, I don't know if you can abstain.
Oh, you can take that as a no, just because I'm still
I think that's
processing.
where it's got to.
You can write it as a no, but it's not a problem. I just don't, not quite there to vote yes.
I
No-
can't
no
hit
problem.
The code doesn't allow for commissioners to abstain on votes.
There's, I don't want to be a negative on this, John, that's why.
I know,
that's
I
what I'm
get
saying,
it. I know.
okay? I like 90% of it. I'm just like not quite there as far as understanding.
No, totally understood.
Okay.
I think we need an opinion from a general counsel.
I was gonna say, if I had a parliamentarian sitting here.
Remember, right, there are specific reasons you can abstain. I just don't think this is one of them,
I
but yeah, I
think
could be
it's
wrong.
a-
From our
have a
legal affairs
conflict of
counsel, Jim.
interest.
Yes.
We'll ask them in about 6 months. Yeah. All right, well, that's the end of that part of the agenda. We're now coming to discussion items, and Cheryl, our treasurer, is here to give us a month-end update. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you. Oh, I gave it to Brian.
Yeah, we do have handouts up here.
Okay. All right. So as you can see, we are in full compliance with the Ottawa County's investment policy. And then if you go to this graph right here, our benchmark rose from last month, but it's still below what we are actually earning. We have about a little bit less than what we had last month in par value. We were at 141 last month, and we're at 138 this month.
What's the 138, Cheryl?
Our par value, so that's what we are
On
investing.
the pie chart now. the
Yeah.
next page.
Yep. Okay.
There you go.
Yep.
Top left corner.
Got it.
And you can see that we have more invested in the over 360 days. I did include this time the beige book. And I also highlighted so we can see which states are involved, are in our district. I'll just read over the summary of the economic activity for our district. It rose slightly over the reporting period, and contacts expected a slight increase in activity over the next year. Manufacturing demand rose modestly. Consumer spending and construction real estate activity rose slightly. Employment and business spending were flat. And non-business contacts saw no change in economic activity. Prices and wages rose moderately, and financial conditions loosened modestly. Farm income in 2026 is expected to be the same as 2025. That's comparing our district to what I included from Huntington, which is the email you'll see, where they say U.S. employers unexpectedly cut jobs in February, and the unemployment rate rose, pointing to lingering fragility in a labor market that was thought to be stabilizing. Non-farm payrolls decreased 92,000 last month after a strong start to the year. The unemployment rate climbed to 4.4%. The decline in payrolls partly reflected a decrease in healthcare employment due to strike activity. Recent trend in productivity gains, 5.2% increase in January and 2.8% increase in February, illustrates how spending on artificial intelligence has allowed some firms to get by with leaner staffing. And the figures could refocus the Federal Reserve's attention on the jobs market as it assesses how long to hold interest rates steady. Policymakers have been more attuned to inflation. Even before the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran sparked concerns among investors about price pressures. In general, Friday's labor market report, coupled with the surge in energy prices, puts the Fed in a tricky position going forward as to whether or not to cut rates again. Any questions?
Commissioner Teeples.
Cheryl, you come every month,
Yes,
give us this report.
right,
Why do you give it to us?
because I'm required to.
Or is it statutorily?
Yes, statutory. It's part of my statutory job to give the Board of Commissioners, but our county uses the Finance Committee to report on the investments.
Are you required to do it monthly?
No, quarterly.
Yeah, that's my question.
I could do it quarterly.
That's what I'm asking myself. I know that, the public, I'm asking myself, what would we do if you came to us and said, or we saw something in the report that we didn't like, right? How quickly could we change it? And probably wouldn't change it. And I'm asking myself, does it make sense to just have you come once a quarter instead of every month to have to report on this, what we've learned over the last 30 days? What do you guys all think about that?
I'm fine with the quarterly. If it makes your life easier.
Yeah.
I feel like.
I mean, I use this as an opportunity because my chief deputy, Jason, does all of the investing. And so I use my doing the reporting as my opportunity to double check that he is following the investment policy and sticking with it. So I would still continue to do this.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't report it.
Wouldn't report it.
Yeah.
I think quarterly makes sense, except, if there's some extenuating reason that you need to come in more, I think that makes great sense. I mean, a lot of it is kind of business as usual.
Right,
It would align with Karen's quarterly report.
right.
That
Mhm.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. It still allows us to partner with you in the oversight.
Right. And if you have any questions about our investments, feel free to give me a call in between the quarters.
I do appreciate you coming in monthly. I think that, the more conversation and the more oversight is always better. But, if you guys want less, that's fine. But I would ask if you're still compiling the reports,
Mhm.
if you could still send them to us
I could do that.
monthly.
It's a great idea.
You just
Okay.
email them to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
If there's a question or something, we can request your presence.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds good.
So do we need to have any motion to change this, or just that'll be how we go forward?
Yeah, I don't think you need a motion because it's not, I'm only required to do it quarterly. So,
Okay. Well, I like the idea that you give us the report.
Okay.
Something comes up, we'll call you ahead.
all right. And email it to the full board, not just the finance committee.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I can do that.
Good stuff.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for coming today, Cheryl. Yeah. All right, this brings us to our second opportunity for public comment. And so I want to invite anyone up, including Ms. Savine, if you'd like to finish your comment. I'm sorry we couldn't get it all in the first 3 minutes, but please feel free to finish it if you'd like to. But we'll start with Ms. Patrick for now.
Okay. Good morning, Becky Patrick, Allendale. I just wanted to offer a suggestion based on your idea about engaging with your lobbyist on the issue of emergency management. I think, and this isn't news to anybody here, but you're going to, I think, continue to find these types of issues going forward. And so my suggestion is that you take a global look at all of the possible needs for lobbying, which probably should also still include community mental health, probably Department of Public Health, probably lots of things. So rather than just focus on one that happens to surface in committees like this, I would encourage you to look at globally before you plan that. So thank you.
Mhm. Welcome back.
Thank you for the opportunity to finish my comments.
Of course.
Just briefly, I wanted to say that one thing that Ottawa County Parks has always been diligent about is soliciting and listening to input from the public. And what we are hearing is we like what you're doing and we want more. So I would urge you to give the public a chance to consider our request for a millage increase. Thank you very much.
I'm glad that I asked you to come back, get the compliment. That's nice. Thank you. Anyone else from the public today? All right, looks like we've reached the end of this meeting. So with that, we are adjourned.